Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my look at the 2024 Republican presidential candidates. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Nikki Haley, the former UN ambassador and former governor of South Carolina. Um, Haley was Donald Trump's first UN ambassador. She was kind of a shocking pick to be a pick for Donald Trump's cabinet. He elevated the UN ambassadorship to cabinet level for her. She was really seen as an odd pick because she was kind of a vocal anti-Trump person in the 2016 primaries. It is reported that the only reason he chose her to be UN ambassador is because the lieutenant governor of South Carolina at the time, Henry McMaster, was an early backer of Trump. And after the 2016 election, Trump went to McMaster and said, "What job do you want in the administration?" And McMaster told Trump the only job that he wanted was to be governor of South Carolina. And Trump said, "Well, be governor of South Carolina." And he said, "Well, there's one problem. You've got to appoint Nikki Haley to something." So Trump appointed Nikki Haley, UN ambassador, so Henry McMaster could become governor of South Carolina. This has been reported in several places, and it's quite fascinating to me. At the UN, Haley quickly established herself as kind of a Margaret Thatcher type, strong, iron-willed, forceful voice on the Trump administration policies at the UN. But Haley left the Trump administration in December of 2018. She kind of left the administration before any of the really big scandals hit the Trump administration. And the last 2 years of the Trump administration, she spent as an outside political ally, boosting Republican candidates, and according to some sources, trying to launch a stealth campaign to replace Mike Pence as the vice presidential nominee in the 2020 campaign. This is a fantasy that a lot of people have every 4 years, that a president is going to dump their VP. Technically, the last time this happened was 1976, when Ford chose Bob Dole as his running mate over the sitting incumbent Vice President Nelson Rockefeller. But I really don't think that one technically counts for this reason. Rockefeller, I don't think anyone thought was a realistic choice to be Ford's running mate in 76. He was probably a placeholder vice president before Ford gets a full term. The last time it happened in reality was in 1940. And that was because John Nance Garner had went to war with FDR in his second term. And you don't get to go to war with the sitting president and be chosen to run again with them. If you're loyal, most of the time the president's going to keep you. But that fantasy still exists, and reports are that Haley tried to maneuver to replace Pence. It was not successful. Haley has launched her campaign in February of 2023, so February of this year as we're recording. She posted what seemed like a pretty impressive fundraising total, but if you dig down into it, it really wasn't as impressive. There was a lot of account transfers from previous campaigns and really inflated the number. Haley has made a lot out of the age issue in this campaign. She is a 50-year-old running against some 70, Trump 75, and of course the president is 80, and talked about competency tests. for politicians over 75, and really positioning herself as a voice for a new generation. Kind of, passing the torch moment is some of her key themes. Also, she's tried to walk for the Republicans, somewhat of a middle line on abortion. But overall, I think the biggest strengths that Haley's campaign has are one, she is a female, and Republicans struggle with female voters, especially after the Dobbs decision. So that could be something that she uses to her advantage, going to Republicans and saying, "Hey, Lee, we struggle with this demographic, especially college-educated women," which she is. She could say, "We struggle with college-educated women. We're struggling with women in general. I could be a forceful voice for gaining female voters." She also has executive experience. She's a former two-term governor of South Carolina. She served 6 years as governor of South Carolina. She was a cabinet level position. That's executive experience. She served 2 years in that role. She served a cabinet position that has foreign policy relevance at the UN. So she can talk about her foreign policy credentials in a way that other governors are not able to, who will run and are running. And like I said, her age, she is 50 years old. She can say, Trump and his generation have had their time to lead. And it's now time to pass the torch to a newer generation. Those could be themes that she could run on. However, the flip side, people are going to charge her with wishy-washiness on issues. She's kind of given some those vague answers on policy questions. She only goes on to friendly news outlets, Fox News, Newsmax, and other sources. And another big drawback is there's probably a sense among Trump people that they don't trust her. She made some comments after January 6th and after the 2020 election that did not please Trump world. She kind of walked those back, but it seems that the Trump campaign has kept receipts of those comments and is deploying them with relish. In the end, I think Nikki Haley's probably running for vice president. I think she could be a strong contender for Trump's vice presidential nomination. I think that if she doesn't get the nomination and gives enough deference in the eyes of the Trump people, that she could be considered for vice presidential role, or a Secretary of State role if Trump were to prevail in the election because of her previous experience as UN ambassador. So, positives for Haley, I would say, is 1, executive experience. 2, would be age. The downsides to her are perceived, waffling on issues. And also, another thing that I didn't mention, people really don't know Nikki Haley that well. She polls kind of low. in most polls. So she's going to have to promote her name ID more to become a top tier candidate. So overall, I think Haley's negatives, especially her low name ID, outweigh any positives you could have. It'll be interesting to see how she does the rest of the campaign. And if she branches out any to more hostile, quote unquote, hostile media. Step out of her comfort zone. So that's all. I will see y'all again in a couple days and we'll cover another candidate. Till then, bye bye.